There are estimates of around 0.2% of GDP that might be lost in the short term. And of course, there are a few sectors that are really hit hard by these sanctions, like apple producers in Poland and exporters of fruit and fish from Greece. But for the overall European economy, this is not a big deal. And you can also see that the Common Agricultural Fund has set aside some 155 million euros for emergency support, and probably this could be enough. If you compare it to the Russian side, and my idea is that really Putin is sanctioning his own people much more than European farmers. The Russian government set aside the equivalent of 1 billion euros to keep the shelves in Russian supermarkets and markets stocked with substitutes for the products from the EU that they no longer have. And that means that the equivalent of something like 12 billion euros of food imports would be missing. And they meet a rather inelastic demand, which is always the case for foodstuff. And the consequence is a sharp increase in prices for many materials such as fish, milk, beef, and cheese. And often there's no domestic substitute for these products. And this is also the reason, I think, why the Russian government cannot really sustain this kind of policy for a long time. And it just recently took many products off its blacklist. I think that most will, but at lower prices. You know, it is not this 12 billion worth of food products that are simply lost. The real loss for farmers is the value they would have got by exporting to Russia, and the value that they can still have by exporting to any other country in the world. And this could be the equivalent of these 155 million that the European Union is ready to give to those farmers as a compensation. And so if you look at it, the damage to Russia is many times the damage that Russia wants to impose on European business and farmers. And in the end, it might even be good for European consumers of food, because the oversupply then is put on the European market and lowering prices for European consumers. As I said, so far, not too much, but there's the danger of this whole thing escalating into a true trade war, which will hit and damage both sides of this campaign, but Russia much more than the European Union. And Russia is already feeling the costs of this trade war that might be emerging. You can see that foreign investors are trying to repatriate their investments in Russia, and they have already this year withdrawn around 60 billion euros from Russia, only this year, and this hurts the Russian economy really quite a bit. And the big weapon that Putin and his crony economy still has is certainly energy and gas. But also here you can see that European governments and energy suppliers are now really working hard to find substitutes for Russian supply. So this in the long term would also hurt the Russian economy. And but a trade war is something where always both sides tend to lose. And compared to a real free trade arrangement, this is bad news, or would be bad news for both sides. And always, if you have a trade war, it's like shooting yourself in the foot. And the only problem is that perhaps Russia, because of its rather weak democratic control and media criticism, can afford to take more damages and more sacrifices than the European West. But if you look at the value of both sides of trade and the losses of trade, I think whereas both sides would shoot themselves in the foot, Russians would shoot themselves in the knee as well.